Welcome to the Sports Drink Club. I am your host, Patrick Mountain, along with my co host, Keenan Duke. And we have got a brand new episode for you with our second guest, longtime friend, longtime teammate, however you want to put it, Andrew McClary, man. How you doing, man?
Man, it's great to see both of you guys. I've been listening to the podcast now for a few weeks. Just really excited to be able to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. Keenan, my man, how was your
What's go?
Mother's Day?
It was pretty good. As you guys heard, I got to talk to my mom for a little bit, so that was nice. Not gonna lie, it was a little different doing the episode solo.
Your mom was so sweet on the podcast the whole time. Oh, Keenan, I'm so happy to talk to you.
Hey,
I
man.
think that was the best part about it is that she was just so happy, you know what I mean? Like,
She was.
I'm talking to my baby on camera. Well, Mom, we're recording as well,
I think it was fun. I was glad that I was able to do it. You know what I mean? It's like not too often that you kind of get to do something of that nature with your mom, especially on Mother's Day. So I thought it was pretty cool, and I had a good time talking to her about just all of that, sports and her parenting and all of that. So it was kind of cool. Tried to show my appreciation in the best way that I possibly could. So no, I had fun doing it, but it was a little weird not having you, there.
Hey man, it's okay, man. But I am back, man. My Mother's Day was great. I actually spent the weekend in Houston. Saw Stefan's mom. It was her 50th birthday, so went down to Houston, celebrated that. That was fun. Came back up that Sunday. Ended up having dinner with my mom. Very
Okay.
nice. And then of course on Monday had dinner with my stepmom for with Donna for Mother's Day. So a lot of moms
Yeah.
going around, you know what I'm saying? Got my lady some flowers. Moms out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What'd you do for your wife?
I got some flowers.
You did? Got them ordered and sent to her.
Yeah, man, that's what I
Did she
had
like
to-
them?
Of course. What girl doesn't like flowers, man? Come on.
Did you send a card too? Like, what all did you do?
Yeah,
Like
man,
flowers
it's
and a
a
card?
but it's very standard for everybody now. Don't
But
treat
like
this don't treat this holiday like it's they get everything, okay? So you give them a little bit. It's Mother's Day, okay? You recognize it. Give them some flowers. Give them a card. And, we move on to the next holiday, which is her birthday coming up here pretty soon on June 8th. So
Okay. Oh, that is soon.
they get all the holidays. What we get? We get Father's Day. You know what I mean? If all the fathers out there.
I mean, you get the same amount of holidays. You get Father's Day and your birthday. What are you talking about?
Sooner or later, you'll see what I'm talking about, Keith. I think
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Larry
to agree with Patrick on this one. That magically the days get less, and somehow they get some days added on, but it's just part of the territory. I'm glad you threw the card in too, because the card is crucial.
Yeah,
Without
the card you can't.
Without the card,
nothing.
it's like the flowers don't mean anything.
Exactly. Like anybody
Right.
could have sent those flowers, but
Right.
you got to
Right.
send that card to have it with it.
That's right.
Absolutely, man. As you will learn as the days go on, Keenan, you will know what we're talking about, right?
Okay.
But
all right. Well, it might be a while before I join that club.
Well, first thing is first, Andrew. It's been such a long time, man, since we've all got together here to talk to you. Thank you for coming on, hopping on here. Just kind of wanted to get an update with you, man. What's been going on? You're all the way out on the Eastern Seaboard. If people don't know about that right now, you're up in the Northeastern Maryland. Just kind of give us a quick run through, man.
Yeah, I mean, I spent almost 7 years in the Air Force, and when my wife and I decided to get out, we decided to relocate where her family is out here in Maryland. So we live in the southern part of Maryland. We're about 45 minutes southeast of DC. And so it's just been a new place for me, place for our family. We got 2 kids now, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, keep us plenty busy. So, come vacation time, obviously traveling is not a whole lot of fun. Getting to and from going to see my family between, my dad lives down in Georgia. And, of course, most of my family lives back in that Dallas area.
Mm-hmm.
So flights like that aren't ever fun. But, we're really enjoying it. We love being here. We are surrounded by family. We got a great community we're a part of, and I've learned that this is it's an untapped area that needs a little more college football in its state. And I feel like I'm that person to kind of bring what we all know down in Texas and in that southern part of the country, what Saturdays mean, and that I can bring that to this area as well as to people across the country.
Absolutely. And
So this is the podcast. This is not the podcast, but your blog that you just came out with.
yeah.
That's right. That's right. So the blog is entitled CFP for Us, and it stands for College Football Playoff for Us, the fans.
Okay.
And the idea of the blog is, when the playoff committee gets together, do their rankings week in, week out, nobody gets access. They're in a closed room. They get in there, they deliberate, they do their own thing. We've got one reporter from ESPN, Heather Dinich. She's like the key master and the gatekeeper all in one for all things college football playoff related. And it's not to take anything away from her, because obviously we all digest it, but college football is based on the fans and all the regional traditions and fan bases getting fired up. So the blog itself is designed for us to be our own college football committee, and people can follow the blog. I serve as the chairman on the blog, and I bring information about all things related to the playoffs. So right now we're talking about the playoff committee members. The last post talked about the chairman, who's actually the athletic director at the University of Oregon, Rob Mullins. And we just kind of look at everybody and have a better understanding of who these 13 people are who are going to decide who gets 4 golden tickets to go play for a national title every year.
Right.
And the idea is just to bring that national view of what's going on all around the college football world and bring people together to discuss it with their own specific flair and taste for their own teams and rooting interests. So it's like we just have this big room where we can talk about it. We're going to come out with our own rankings each week, have an interactive ranking session similar to what the playoff committee does. So it's not just a blog for people to just follow in the sense of just they're reading it. I want to get people involved in everything. Yeah.
You're trying to get people to interact so that you can kind of build, like you said, the community where your people have a chance to kind of voice and have their input to possibly be heard by the actual committee and all that stuff, or just the people who actually make decisions. It's like, okay, like here's this thing where people are actually participating. This seems to be what people want. Maybe we should consider that.
That's right. I mean, you look at the history of college football in general. It's been the growth of the sport from a small regional spectrum to now everyone around the country can watch any team, from coast to coast, and they're a little more educated. And it's been very clear that as fans grow louder, voices grow louder from public places, it impacts the change in the way college football is being operated.
100%.
It's only a matter of time before we're going to see an expansion in the playoff. Probably not until this contract's up with ESPN, because ain't no way they're forfeiting any of that money.
When's that contract up?
So they've still got 6 more years on the deal. We're basically at the halfway point. So it's possible, but you're going to have to juggle a lot of different money bags in the air for them to break that contract and expand. But we got to play off.
To you, McCleary, is where do you see the perfect number being? I mean, we're at 4 right now, which a lot of people really don't have a problem with it. But then again, there is some issue about it because you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know what I mean?
Right.
Thinking that they're. Where do you see the perfect number being? I know where I'm thinking in my head what I think the perfect number is, but where do you see it for yourself?
So the perfect number in my head actually would be 6, because you don't have to change the current format much. You basically give your first top 2 seeds a bye. You keep your semifinal games and your national title game the same system. You just got 2 additional games. Now, for that perfect system really to work out to be 6 teams, I need to be able to wave a magic scheduling wand where all Power 5 conferences play the same number of Power 5 teams and the same number of cupcake teams.
Yeah.
That way we're all on the same resume here.
Right.
The Big 12, they play all they play all 9 teams, decide it that way. The SEC, I mean, you guys want to tout you're the biggest and baddest. Don't be scheduling Wofford in November. Like, don't be doing that. But each conference has their own commissioner. They're going to do what's best for them. And if you're the SEC and you keep putting 2 teams in the playoff every year, they're not going to change anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So my question is to you is that, you've got this inspiration of how you started this blog. Where do you see it going? And how are you trying to get it there, to that, pinnacle to where, hey, I think that I've met my goal. What are the steps that you're taking to get there?
Well, currently right now, since the blog's just kind of getting going, the idea is just to establish that baseline, let people understand what they're going to be getting when they come to the blog. And once we get to the season and we've got a lot of material to talk about week in and week out, that can really start to drive the direction of the blog, and people will begin to see how a Michigan fan, a USC fan, an Oklahoma fan, a Miami fan can all come to the same area, and we can all talk about the same thing, about achieving that goal of getting to the playoff, and just really create that community. So, I mentioned we're going to be doing rankings each week. A lot of big media outlets will put out different types of week-to-week rankings, games they're going to be watching. I'm going to be trying to put my own little spin on things. Certainly your big boys each week will have their games, but there's going to be games each week that are always going to be flying off the radar. They're going to have playoff implications.
Right.
So, focus on different things like that and just bring a different aspect to that conversation. And really the goal is just to get people engaged. I want to see people reach out to me that I don't have any connection to, tell me their stories from, whatever their alma mater or college of choice is, because I know how much my alma mater means to me, and I know how much everyone else's alma mater can mean to them on Saturday. So I want to hear those stories and get those conversations going so we can just continue to grow the sport in general.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a big thing is that, and I know this is completely diving into something different, but, I believe I saw you put up an article about how players should be getting paid about their likeness, about college players, colleges and universities using their likeness, and how the NCAA is just such a machine when it comes to money. At some point in time, do you see the NCAA paying the players? I know that there's a lot of people out there who are using the educational system to kind of give a generic answer back to why college players, shouldn't get paid. Well, they're getting a free education. But I think it really hit for me when I'm sitting at home with my stepmom watching Texas Tech about to take on Virginia, and you've got the bells and the whistles and the confetti and all of these different these different ads that are popping up on commercials and everything. And she literally said to me, she goes, I don't understand why college players aren't getting paid. She goes, I get it that they're getting a free education, but
it's not enough.
Do you not see how much money that their school is making? Do you not see how much money the NCAA is making? And we still have these guys out here defending their way of thinking because the athlete is getting a free education.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Where is your stance on that, and how do you feel like that could be fixed?
So, as far as the universities directly paying all the guys and gals on the team, because you're not going to be able to just pay one sport at a given university, I don't know if that day will actually come. Now, as far as guys profiting off their likeness and images and what the university uses them, I do think that day is coming. When I was at Texas Tech, Michael Crabtree was there. Everywhere you went in the city of Lubbock had a double T shirt with the number 5 on it, a jersey with the number 5 on it. You name it, it had his number on it, but it didn't have his name on it. That way,
but you knew who it was.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's the same for any college town you go to any given year. Your big basketball schools, I can't imagine the number of Zion Williams numbered
Yeah.
jerseys Duke
Yeah,
sold this year.
exactly.
So I think the day's coming where those players can make money off of those opportunities because clearly they're doing something for the university. Now it is kind of, I won't say they'll be able to make 100% profit because it's still the universities that give them that initial opportunity. So there's going to be a little bit of give and take. But I do think that the day is coming where all athletes, regardless of sport, if you're in some sort of promotional event for the university, some sort of money is coming your way. And even if it's just a few $100s, when you're a college student, you get an extra $300-400 a month. I mean, that's
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 huge.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think it's coming. I don't know how fast it will come based on the NCAA's working group. The next time they could vote on this would be next January when they meet again and those meetings happen. But I don't know if it'll happen that quick. The NCAA doesn't ever move fast on anything. They've never shown some sort of competence in being consistent with how they do business. But I do think that day is coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like it should just, just the whole thing of players not getting paid just because of they're getting a free education. Like I think it's kind of,
It's kind of
it's like
silly.
it's just like almost like a get out of jail free card for universities and people in those positions to be able to use because, like you said, like the universities are bringing in millions of dollars, like probably billions almost.
The
Like
NCAA
they're bringing up
making billions of
so much
dollars,
money. Like
man.
the NCAA, the universities, hell, even the coaches, of football
Yeah,
and these
that's what I
basketball
don't
schools
get.
are making millions of dollars. And to me, the whole thing is like we've played sports before, all three of us, and we know that like the amount of time that it requires to put into that sport in order to try and be good, to try and be like the best player that you can. Like you have to put in a lot of hours. So to put in those amount of hours and then like require a kid to like go to school and try and excel at that, especially like if you're one of the better players and actually have a legit chance of going pro, you're gonna try and take that opportunity and you're gonna try your hardest at that
Exactly.
sport to try and go pro because that's what you're good at. That's what you want to do as a career. So just like people who are in school for like, you know, engineering and all that stuff and put in hours of work to try and become an engineer, that's the same thing
Exactly.
that these athletes are doing. So why is it that they have to like quote unquote sacrifice their time as an athlete to work on, not to say that they shouldn't, but at the same time it's like one of those things where it's like, listen, if you know what you're good at and you have a chance to do it, then you do that. And then you can always go back to school. Like my thing is like, and just a thought that I've always kind of had is like, if there are players out there that are good, like a Zion or like a Kyler Murray or something like that, you let them concentrate on their sport. You can give them an option, like you can give students an option, like, hey, you don't have to go to school. All you have to do is concentrate on the sport and the thing
Yeah.
that we want you to excel at so that we can profit off of that. And in return, you can come back later and your school is paid for, and then you can solely focus on school. If things don't work out in sports, then you can always come back here
I
and do your
know, but I
studies
feel
for
like that's
free.
just like not enough. Like you get a free education, yeah, and I know the regular students probably like, well, they got a free education, I didn't. You know what I mean? I get what
But they're not bringing in the money to the school
exactly,
like these people are.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that. Like it's like the boosters and all these things that all the people that they kind of
Millions
fine and
and
dine in
millions
order to
of
try and like
dollars, bro.
get people to donate money to their school. Like what are they bringing them to? Are they bringing them to a swim meet? No, they're bringing them to a football game or a basketball game.
Right.
Maybe a baseball game, but they're bringing them most likely to a football and basketball
I
game
feel
because
like if
that's
your
the
head
thing.
coach is making $5 to $10 million a year, that's just a telltale sign that these players need to get something. Now, I'm
Exactly.
not saying that they have to get paid while they're at the university, but when they leave, they should receive something. I mean,
Right.
anything.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of I'm under the belief of, you know, they are still a student athlete at the school, and when we think of these, we think of your big 5-star names. Coming into the season, it's Trevor Lawrence, it's Tua down in Alabama, it's Justin Herbert at Oregon.
Mhm.
Like those are the people everyone thinks of. But when you think about all the other players on the team, most of those guys aren't going to be making professional money of any kind playing the sport at the next level. Perfect example. You got guys who are undrafted free agents every year that are All-American. So why are we capping what an individual student can do to make money for themselves just because they're in this role with the university?
Right.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, like, that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, you give kids like that an option to be like, listen, if you don't, not to say like if you don't think that you'll go pro, but like if you might be one of those players who, like a lot of them are on the fringe, here's an option to where, we'll let you focus on school, but here at the same time, like we're also gonna let you choose the option of like if you want to come back and finish your studies and do that. We appreciate the role that you played in making the team what it is, especially if it's a good team like Alabama. Like just because you don't go pro doesn't mean that you didn't play a vital role in being, helping the team go to a national championship and potentially win it. There's plenty of people who play that role but don't get drafted and all that stuff or go pro. So for those kids, how are they being helped and serviced in a way that's conducive to them in their situation? Because like you said, like they're not going to be like the quarterback, like I forget his name. What's his name again? Tua.
Yeah.
So it's like not everyone's like him. So he's obviously gonna go play and then move on and get drafted, and he's not gonna have to worry about coming back to school. But those other kids, they might potentially want that opportunity to be like, hey, I put in my time here playing football. I'm glad I did it. I'm not gonna go pro, but now I want to have the time and the ability to focus on school. So I'm glad that the university offered me that proposition to be able to focus on football while I was here, make the team and help the school out with, them being able to make money off of the team and the sport. Now they're like helping me with my schooling that I want to now focus on so I can really get my career going.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, and I got you there. And I'd say probably at like 80% of the Power 5 programs, that would probably, that could be plausible. But when you've got your Notre Dames, your Stanfords, your Northwesterns, your universities that do not compromise their academic standards for the football team whatsoever, those are going to be the schools that, are never they won't ever put athletics above academia. Even, a school like Notre Dame, that's such a national brand, their academic standards are held in place no differently for the athletes than every other student.
I get that, but if you were to take that route of offering kids that opportunity to just focus on football, then you wouldn't necessarily have to classify them as a student athlete because they're not a student at that moment in time. So they wouldn't necessarily affect your student, whatever that quota is, or like the ratio that you're referring to, like, because they're not at that moment in time, even though they are attending your school, because they've taken the option of just solely focusing on their sport, they're not in class to where they're affecting that component. You know what I mean? You could classify it that way.
Yeah, no, I got you. But the athletic director is only one guy out of all the decision makers at the university.
True.
So that would be the battle, especially in the schools that have such high academic standards, is your presidents, your chancellors, your board of regents, you name it. They've all got whole university picture in mind, prior to the athletes. So that's where you would run into some problems there. But I can see what you're talking about. Reward the students for for what they're doing for the university during that time, after the fact, when they got a chance to focus on their academia. I got you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So real quick, Andrew, we got a few questions for you. I got a few questions for you. This is more so on some, it's not on some sweet tea bed type stuff, but it is.
Hey man, I'm about some sweet tea bets. I know we're going to cover coast to coast here, but I'm pretty sure Venmo still works coast to coast. So I'm willing to throw my hat in the sweet tea ring.
Okay.
All right.
Get a sweet tea board.
Yeah.
Well, we got
that's right. Yeah.
We got a few questions for you here. Over under 5 wins this year for Texas Tech. Over under.
Ooh, man, this is tough because
We saw
You know
it,
what?
man. We are extra trash. We are extra trash, bro. Got the coach from Utah State.
I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go with 6 wins for the Red Raiders. They creep in the back door to get a bowl.
Going to the Birmingham Bowl again.
That's right. That's right. You know, all that I've read about Coach Wells, you know, no one knew who he was, so I started reading up on him. And I guess in football circles, the man is very well regarded. And Kirby Holcutt, who has done a fantastic job building up basically every other athletic team that Texas Tech's putting out, I've got to have faith in him that Wells is a long-term solution here. If you can win 10, 11 games at Utah State, I mean, you clearly can coach.
Okay. All right. Now, who do you got in the national championship? Who's your final 2?
Roll Tide and go Tigers for the 5th straight year.
God, that's so.
No. They're just so much better than everybody else. I mean, Georgia has a roster that can certainly play with Alabama, and I heard it best the other day that there are plenty of schools that can beat Bama and Clemson for 1 week, but they can't go 11-1 the rest of the year. Those guys can sustain a loss. They can deal with that if someone catches them off guard. But you got the 2 best quarterbacks in the country back again. One's a sophomore, one's a junior now. Clemson's going to bring in the best recruiting class in the history of mankind for 2020. The teams aren't going anywhere. Until Saban and Dabo leave the universities,
which they're not going to.
Get used to rolling with the Tide or spelling out Clemson, all college football season long.
Both those quarterbacks were on Elite 8.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember watching that.
Mm-hmm.
One more question for you. Who's your Heisman favorite right now?
Favorite? It's probably Trevor Lawrence, just because of what he did to Bama in the national championship game. You know, to come in there and just carve up Alabama like that on the national stage. You're bringing back all that talent on the offense for him. His running back, Travis Etienne, is a stud in himself and a Heisman candidate. So when you got those type of weapons and you're the quarterback, because the Heisman Trophy really is kind of just morphed into the best quarterback in all of America, I have a hard time seeing him not earning at least a trip to New York if he's not giving the speech at the end of the year, thanking everybody for being the Heisman Trophy winner.
I hear you on that. All right, man. So as we move along here, I want to get into a little bit of the NFL. Okay.
Okay.
Your thoughts kind of, on the NFL draft, particularly Kyler Murray. Now, obviously, we all know that he is a native of Allen, Texas. I got an opportunity to see him play. I'm sure you guys got an opportunity to see him play at some point in time in high school. I'm a big believer, man. I think that he's great. I guess if I had to pick on him at some point in time, it'd be his size. But as we know, the game of the football game has changed more so into the college game, and we have seen it in the NFL, and we've seen it work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You're going to get more quarterbacks that are just like Kyler Murray. All right. I believe now that the quarterback position is more of a point guard than anything. You've got a lot of space. You're in shotgun. You're distributing the football, and that's all that they want you to do, whether it's short, long, whatever it may be. As long as you can take care of the football, hold on to the football, run the football, be mobile, be able to distribute, short passes, quick. You know what I mean? You can do it. And I feel like Kyler Murray's got all the tools to do that. Do you feel the same way, or do you feel like he's going to have some troubles in the NFL?
That man is the definition of a freak athlete.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough to people when, you can read all the folklore stories about when he was in high school and how he never lost a game and blah, blah, blah. But we all know Allen only has one high school, so that's why they're good every year. If Plano only had one high school, we'd win state every year.
We sure did back in the 60s.
Yeah. But when you got a chance to watch him, if you watched him really during a full game, his athleticism is is something that just cannot be duplicated. I remember when Russell Wilson came out, everyone was giving him a grade of like, oh, first rounder.
Right.
Except he's 5'11", so we got to take him in the third round. Well, that thought process has changed, and the only thing, and this is going to hurt me to say at my core, the only thing that I think is going to hurt Kyler Murray is if Kingsbury can't successfully roll his offense into the NFL. He had an NFL caliber quarterback in college. The man threw for 8 million yards and 7,000 touchdowns. But Kyler Murray's best receiver is a aging Larry Fitzgerald, who, for my money, still has the best hands of anyone I've ever seen on Sundays, but he's still their best receiver right now. And when you go 3-11 or 3-13, you got issues everywhere. So if he's not protected, he's fast, but everyone else is just as fast.
Keenan,
on
you look
on
like
the
you
NFL.
want to say something, Keenan. He doesn't like Kyler Murray.
Keenan does
like
not.
Kyler,
I'm not feeling the love coming from Keenan on Kyler.
I'm not like Kyler, man.
It's not that I don't like Kyler. It's just, here's my thing. Like, I get he's a freak athlete. I get his accolades, everything that he's done in high school, everything that he did in college. I understand all of that. But for me, I think what happened, and I'm not even going to say like that they shouldn't have drafted him and like, you know, in favor of like Josh Rosen, because in all honesty, to me, like Josh Rosen got a, you know, pardon my French, a shitty hand last year.
Oh, definitely.
Because
no doubt.
Because and this is where my thing is with Kyler Murray. I think there's two things that are gonna make his success, and that's the offensive line and how they utilize David Johnson. So for me, like the reason why I was so upset and why everyone was so gung ho on the Cardinals should take, you know, Kyler Murray and dump Josh Rosen, because Josh Rosen had such a terrible year last year. It's like, okay, what was his offensive line ranked?
Yeah, he didn't get a fair shake at all last year.
He got his offensive line was ranked 32 out of 32. He had the worst offensive line in the entire NFL. So if Kyler Murray is playing behind that same offensive line, what makes me think that he's going to do much better? Yeah, he can move a little bit, but like you just said, everyone's just as fast in the NFL. Like, that's not going to help you that much. It's going to help you a little bit, but not to the degree that it's going to help you like when you played in high school. You're not playing against high schoolers. You're not playing against college people. You're playing against other professional football players.
But so, he is a better quarterback than Josh Rosen.
How do we know that? Josh Rosen literally had the worst offensive line. How do we know that?
I'm just going by the eye test in college, man.
But Kyler Murray's offensive line in college was pretty damn good, were they not?
Yeah, so was Josh Rosen.
So and Josh Rosen did well in college, did he not?
Yeah, he's first round pick.
So then what's the difference? The difference is that
he wasn't a Heisman candidate. That's my thing. He wasn't a Heisman candidate.
But I'm not beholden to a Heisman trophy because did Russell Wilson win a Heisman? No. Like, there's lots of quarterbacks did Tom Brady win a Heisman? No. So just because you were a Heisman candidate doesn't mean you're a great quarterback in the NFL. That doesn't mean anything.
I'm just going by the eye test, man.
What your eye test saw was an offensive line that could hold people and give Kyler Murray the time to be able to scramble and move about and find players. If Arizona's working with that same offensive line that they had last year, I don't think you're going to be seeing those types of plays from Kyler Murray. So I'm just very hesitant to jump on this Kyler Murray bandwagon and I think he's like the greatest coming of Jesus.
No, I think he's going to struggle. There's going to be points where he struggles for sure this year. I do think he can morph into a good quarterback. He's not going to go full Pat Mahomes on everybody and light the league up his first year starting. No.
Even then, you have to remember that even Pat Mahomes sat for a year, and he had Alex Smith literally teaching him and helping him along the way. Whereas Kyler Murray's not going to get that, and I don't think you can underestimate the help that the role that Alex Smith played in Pat Mahomes' success last year.
Right,
I think Kyler Murray's chances, though, man.
I think any quarterback that comes into the NFL is, I would say 50 to 60% of whether they make it or not is the situation they fall into. The coaches they get to work with, the teams they fall into, the organization, what time. I think that is at least half of what's going to
Yeah.
dictate it. So it'll be
Agreed.
interesting to see what happens with Kyler and Cliff because, the Cardinals fired their coach after 1 year. So I don't know how long of a
Deservedly.
leash. Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, they were bad. You still only got 1 year. So
Yeah, man,
how
you
long are
get
they
a
going to
fair
give the
shake
Cliff
either, man.
experience? Yeah.
Nobody got a fair shake. But we'll definitely have to get you back on the show, man. Talk about Kyler Murray as he progresses. Hey, I'm on the Kyler Murray bandwagon, and I might be even driving that month. Like
You
I
driving the
might
train.
be.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
You are
might
the
be.
conductor.
Yeah.
You are throwing the coal on the engine. Yeah,
You're the
you are at
band
the
leader.
front driving the
Yeah.
train.
Would
Yeah,
you
you
like a drink?
you everything right now.
Open up the door, all aboard. That's
You
it.
are the spokesperson, ambassador.
I am on the Kyler
That's
Murray
right.
bandwagon, y'all. So another thing is, Andrew, we want to talk about our Dallas Cowboys. I'm sorry, Keenan.
It's all good.
We wanted to kind of give you, just get your opinion on this. Did you like the draft this year? You like the direction that we're going? Just quick, give us your thoughts, man, on the draft.
So I think the Cowboys did a pretty good job of addressing some pretty glaring needs, and we had a great defense last year, but we had a lot of guys, as Stephen A. Smith will so aptly put it, who can't stay off the weed. So we are lacking on the defensive line as far as depth. And we drafted there. That was the first place we went in the second round. We shored up our best, overall collective unit in the offensive line, taking the lineman out of Penn State in the third round. So I think they did a decent job. It's nothing that's going to get the fan base real fired up, especially since it wasn't, we weren't drafting in the first round. But I think overall they did a pretty good job. And I was listening to Darren Woodson the other day, and he's telling people that there is an actual culture change coming to the Cowboys. And he's a firm believer in them.
I've been saying it for years.
He is saying that with Dak Prescott's leadership, there is a culture change that is happening within the building. It's no longer the Jerry, let me make money show all the time. There's actual commitment to winning football that's happening. So he's got to know better than I do. I'm willing to take that Hall of Famer's word. Super Bowl. Count it.
Okay.
Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
This year?
Count
This year, Dallas Cowboys going to the Super Bowl.
I was thinking more
Sweet
NFC
tea.
championship.
I was like, is that a sweet tea bet?
Sweet tea.
You in on this?
Sweet tea.
Okay.
Oh my.
Sweet tea.
I have nothing to do with this, Keenan.
Sir Andrew McClary, I will take you on that bet.
I have nothing.
You got it.
One sweet tea on the line here between Andrew
You got
McClary
it.
and I.
That's a lot of sweet tea right there.
We'll circle back in February.
Yeah.
Will.
More like December.
One question about one of my favorite draft picks, and it's just answer yes or no, basically. Bust or no bust? DK Metcalf.
Bust.
Ooh, really?
Bust. If you're gonna make me pick, look, the man is chiseled out of marble. Okay, we got that.
Mm-hmm.
The man is fast. He's tall. He's everything you could want for a wide receiver, except he can't change directions. Which, if you're that big, you can be a red zone threat. Like you can carve out a nice living. But I think the hype train that DK Metcalf got wrapped up on, I don't think he's going to be able to live. I just don't think he's going to live up to what everyone thinks he's supposed to be. Everyone thinks he's going to be the next Calvin Johnson just because of how he looks.
Yeah, no
Right.
shot. Yeah, no,
Right.
I agree with you on that. I don't think he'll be able to live up to the hype, but I do think he'll be okay. Like, I don't think he's going to be a complete bust. I think if they can figure out a way to really utilize him, like you said, goal line, like I'm sure they would have wished they had him in that Super Bowl against the Patriots. Maybe what's his name? Maybe Malcolm wouldn't have got that interception. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But like, I think if they can
in the first place, how about that?
Well, yeah, that too. But no, I I don't think he'll be a bust per se if they can find a way to utilize him correctly. But I do agree with you where I don't think he'll live up to the hype.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can make out a decent spot on an NFL team and be like a number 2, but I don't see him being some all-pro wide receiver, top 5 guy. No Julio Jones or Evans or Brown or anything like that. But I think he's got a chance to have a decent career.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Well, we're coming to an end here. McCleary, we just kind of want to, just go over, man. Like, since we all played at Plano together, man, we wanted to.
All right, let me set the record. Let me set the record straight. Since you guys start cracking open the old memories here. I heard you. All right, so we're gonna clear it out for all the listeners out here. Since a lot, some of them don't know us, so let's just lay it out here. Keenan was the fastest of the 3, hands down. It's not even close. When I was pitching, if the ball was hit to center field near, I didn't even have to look. It was going to get caught. Write that down in stone. Patrick Melton, out of the 3 of us, because we all happen to be left-handed, Patrick Melton has the sweetest swing out of the 3 of us.
For sure.
That said, Patrick Melton can still not hit my curveball to this day.
He just went out.
I don't even want to get on that, man. Put a sweet tea on it, man. I'll go out there and hit that thing right now. Put a sweet tea on that.
Okay. I'll hit you up the next time I'm in Dallas. I don't even need a net.
Charlie's will be.
I will not. I will not even put a net up on the mound because I don't even got to worry about it.
Keenan,
no fear of anything coming back his way. I need y'all to videotape this and record it so we can put it up. Video evidence. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard. McCleary got Andrew on lock. McCleary got Patrick on lock. That's funny.
That's right.
Well, I will ask you this. Your favorite moment as a Wildcat was?
Oddly enough, it's got to be when we won that first game after coming off the winless season. Now, I know Keenan didn't have to really suffer too much.
This is football.
Yeah, in football. That's correct. But that first win we had after a winless season, because going through a full calendar year of the worst season in program history.
I was right there with you. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, you were a little sophomore. No one was paying much attention to you yet.
Okay. It's not like I didn't play.
I know. No, it had to be that because it was the relief that came from that. And we were so close to making the playoffs till Aqib Talib jumped over me that last week of the season. But that first win had to be it because the elation in the stadium was just something that I can't duplicate in anything else. It's just such a unique thing. And everyone listening, the hype is real. 15,000 people every Friday night without fail. You can't duplicate it, especially as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, man. I definitely
pretty crazy.
Remember that, man. That was a great win for us, man, and just great for our program. And then obviously the next year, those guys, man, ended up going 10-0. I felt like, even though we weren't on that team, dude, we put in the foundation.
Absolutely,
like 10-0 too. So that's amazing, man. But
McCleary, we thank you for your service.
And
thank you
for your service, man.
Thank you.
That too. But we definitely want to keep you in the loop and keep you in, our podcast. We'll definitely have to bring you back on, man. It was
for
great
sure.
to talk to you today. But
man, it's a blast, guys.
But where can the people find you on your college football blog?
So the blog itself, the website, CFP4us.com, CFP4us.com. Also got a Facebook page, CFP4us. find us on Twitter, CFP _ us, CFP4 _ us, and then on Instagram, CFP4 us. So all over social media. Love getting stuff out on Instagram. Today, everyone got to see who I am finally, albeit covered in some body paint from back in the day. But yeah, I want to get the word out, get the conversations flowing. It's always a good day to talk college football. So come find me on any of those places.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll definitely have to continue to keep up with you as far as when as the season goes on. And Keenan, where can the people find us?
Well, they can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Sports Strength Club. And then also you can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us on Stitcher, TuneIn, or any other, most podcast directories out there you can find us on. Yeah.
I need Patrick to hit me with that so's.
And Sods, man. You can find us on Sods.
I wonder if anyone is like listening to us on Sods.
That's
like,
that's always the end piece with Patrick. And find us on So's.
Like
he's on some smooth jazz radio station.
Exactly. like channeling his inner Barry White.
Yeah.
You can listen to us on Sods.
I tell you what, man, McClary, it's been great having you on, man. We'll definitely bring you on again, man, as the year goes on. We appreciate it. And this has been another episode of the Sports Drink Club. I am your host, Patrick Melton, along with my co-host, Keenan Duke, and along with Andrew McClary, our special guest tonight. And hey, drinks up, guys.
All right.
Out of there.
Drinks up. How about you guys?
See you guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.